My presentation wouldn't take that much of your time because it is presentation of the abstract and we are still working on the project and we are in early stages so far. That's the title, Tech-Enabled Remote Education, Learning from COVID, Informing Future Policy and Practices. I know you don't want to think about COVID anymore, but a little bit. I want you to think about it a little bit today, about the learnings and what can we do for the possible situations in the future. And that's the idea of the project. The project is a combination of technology, engineering, math, and science, mainly between technology and education. It's still STEM. Sorry about that. I know art is coming very soon, especially for visualization of the practices. So this is a project between Faculty of Computing, Engineering, Built Environment, and Health, especially education, school. And these are the name of the people who are involved in this. So these three facts motivated us to do this project. And actually the story behind this research is that 1 year ago, we realized that, I think more than 1 year ago, in the second episode of school closures, we were talking about other projects with health, and we realized these practices for continuous teaching and learning for children, especially in primary schools, is not working properly. And bringing technology very quickly for primary schools has created a lot of challenges and problems for parents, teachers especially, and children. So, and also these facts that the digital transformation significantly impacted the education sector, especially for the socio-technical disadvantaged group, was another motivation that we realized there are lots of problems. Although government provided free access to websites, free laptops, etc., but their pedagogy and their learning practices in this group is not very well planned, and there was no time to plan for it actually. And also most primary schools were forced to seek solutions with little guidance and support from government and local councils. And the push to remote teaching and learning, mainly using technology, resulted in significant challenges, as I explained earlier. So we realized that, okay, we need to do something about it. And we started, again, as part of that story, we started to very quickly put together a bid for UKRI, ESRC, and to get funding in order to make it better and create probably a toolkit for kind of a smart tech-enabled education for primary schools, and provide this toolkit for teachers and parents at a first step, and then for everyone in the public sector, in order to understand their situation and realize their needs and ask for the needs from the government, and it's provided to them as quickly as possible. And the whole process should be done in 1 and maximum 2 weeks. Unfortunately, the bid was unsuccessful because of actually the time. And as soon as the bid went through and it was submitted, and then it was reviewed by the funder, it was too late, and actually schools were open, and then people were not thinking that much about COVID anymore, which was start of this year. So then we realized, okay, what if we start a project to learn from what happened before, instead of do a quick, create quick solution for through bid, etc., and do something for the situation which is already passed. So therefore, we realized we need to understand the most essential and sustainable need of parents and teachers, and providing guidelines and strategies to support inclusive and effective remote education by offering curricular or pedagogical support to embed digital resources for them. So, and the inclusivity and effectiveness was one of the most important topics, elements for us. And we want to create a toolkit which is inclusive for everyone from any socio-economic background, especially for disadvantaged groups. Therefore, we started the project, and this triangle of tech-enabled everything that I have called it in most of my papers, I have put this, the convergence of technology, people, and process, and the flow of data between them is very important for bringing technology for any discipline. Therefore, in the COVID, we thought about technology. We didn't think about that much about the process of bringing technology. We didn't think about the individual's needs, and we didn't have enough data as well. So only we brought technology to enable pedagogy, continuous learning and teaching when schools are closed. So now we are going to bring in this true STEAM approach and try to create an effective and inclusive tool, which would be technical tool, but it would be mainly process, which will inform policy and practice for the schools and also for the ministries and the Department of Education. So the aim of the research is this, but that's a preliminary aim. We are still working on the project to better understand the practice. Actually, before talking about this, we realized that in order to do that, we have to do a state-of-the-art literature review to understand what has happened, especially the literature which have been published by the government and schools and not mainly academic papers, which are very rare, and we don't have too many papers about that, about tech-enabled technology. So we realized we need to understand the practices employed to provide education support during the COVID-19 and develop a set of guides for future research and development to minimize disparity and improve inclusiveness when face-to-face teaching and learning cannot be offered. So obviously, we may think, okay, we wouldn't have this situation anymore, but it can happen. No one thought about COVID, and COVID happened. It may happen again in the next few years, and other things like war in some countries. So we want to generalize it for everywhere around the world, not only the UK. So it can be even for small areas like flooded areas that maybe education cannot be done face-to-face for a few weeks. So the toolkit can be useful in a few minutes, and they can realize what they need and what they have to take from the government or local authorities, etc. And these are the objectives we have kind of agreed so far. Firstly, to review all the literature regarding COVID and teaching and learning, and to investigate and review the current resources, processes, and methods which have been used during COVID, and then to explore the resources utilized for remote education and to provide guidance for key stakeholders. That's the first phase of the project. And for the state-of-the-art review, we have used this search term so far, and we have found, these are the inclusion criteria. We have found about 753 reports, papers, and policies so far. And we have filtered them, and we came up to about 25. And out of these 25, 4 of them have been very, very inclusive, and they are the main kind of review papers, which include all the other papers, practices and developments, and also guidelines. So we realize these 4 are very important that I show you. These are the 4 ones. So they are very, the first 4 of them are the most important one, and the last one, which is also, again, an umbrella to bring everything else together. So we realize we mainly need to focus on these, learn from them, look at the other 20 papers, and then try to understand what has happened before. And also we need to do some primary research as well, talk to parents, teachers, and also, if possible, children, in order to understand the problems that happened before. So that was the presentation for the abstract. So the main research will be coming and hopefully will be published in the STEAM journal. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions for Vahid? Certainly I mean, that's really interesting. I know you've got to run and teach, but the bit that I mean, it's a kind of, from an educator's perspective, we very much, certainly here, we very much kind of moved all the stuff. We still do some of our stuff online, but actually it's surprising how quickly we've moved back into that kind of existing, you know, approaches. And I thought what's interesting about that kind of idea of sort of future-proofing education for all of the things, the catastrophes that are on the horizon potentially. You talked that potentially brought about by wars, climate crisis, and potentially other any other disasters. So yeah, I don't really know what my question is, but I guess the bit is, well, how do you kind of, because linked to that is that area around inequalities, and how do you kind of create something that is fit for purpose for a really broad range of educators?
Yeah, at the moment we are mainly focusing on West Midlands, and but we want to generalize it to the UK first. And also after that, out of that project, we want to maybe in 2-3 years' time, when this project done, look at how we can generalize it for international as well. But this kind of disaster may happen everywhere, so we are not sure. So and at the moment we are especially looking at disasters like COVID, anything like that requires people cannot contact with each other. But in order to make it more interesting for funders, we had to say, okay, it can be also useful for other situations like war, like flooding, like in some countries, other climate disasters like typhoon and storm that the schools can be closed for a few months. So the toolkit that we are thinking is kind of it will provide, by just a few clicks in the application, it will provide guidelines for 3 stakeholders: parents, teachers, and the government. And in real time, everyone will be notified and will know, okay, what they need to provide, what is their task at this time, and do they have to go somewhere or take something. We are also thinking about something like automated machines that they provide education and pedagogy resources for teachers and for parents and children. They can just go there, scan their ID, and take the stuff which are uploaded from the teachers, and instead of going to schools which are closed in this situation. So there are lots of things, and we are still working on at the moment this is the objective, just we are working on state-of-the-art review, and after that there are other things coming.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, Maria's got a question for you.
Proposing for, disaster management, and what about like taking advantage of all this collective experience from educators, because they learned a lot about e-learning, and they can use it also in, to support face-to-face learning, and parents also, and teachers. I think this is gonna make it more attractive, and it's gonna have an immediate effect, because definitely people don't want to go back exactly like how they used to be, and they've learned a lot about technology. So it would be nice to think how also to provide suggestions about normal situations, how to make use of.
That's another project. So yeah, obviously there are lots of learnings from COVID situation, especially in education and children, and tech-enabled education. And yeah, most of the learnings have become kind of normal practice for face-to-face teaching as well. The use of IT resources have become more in the current situation, and in the face-to-face teaching as well. That can be done as well. But our focus at the moment is for future disaster, if happens. Hopefully it wouldn't happen, and our project would be useless then. But it may happen, and no one knows. And we have to be ready. It's kind of readiness assessment, and is about how can we be more prepared for the future situations.
Okay, are there any final questions at all? Certainly I'm a little bit concerned if in those crisis situations that if people don't have internet access, that there maybe are some other kind of creative solutions that need to be considered around that access to education. Okay, if there are no more questions, I think we'll let you go and teach your class, Vahid, and thank you very much.